The same way with your marriage, maybe you just covered stuff up and pretended it'd just go away. It's not going to go away. If it's a problem, it needs to be dealt with. Maybe you're got problems with your kids. Maybe they're 14 now, but it was problems you saw when they were 7 and 8 and you never did anything about it. Come on. I'm talking to real people about real situations. Same thing with your business. Oh, well, we lost a little money. Well, we didn't quite have enough money, but it was, you're not, come on, let's deal with reality, because what happens is when we start to make a decree to change things, then more light, and we should pray for that. I do. I pray for that all the time. I say, God, I want to know truth in my soul. I want to know truth in my inward man. I'm craving truth. Truth that we know inside is the only way we're ever going to be free. I don't care what problem we're going through. It doesn't matter if it's sickness or if it's financial or if it's family or whatever. When we know truth, we just get free. Even though we may have to deal with some ugly circumstances, we still are free on the inside, so we can do it. So this light, he's going to cause his light to shine upon your ways. So when we start with our decree, are y'all understanding this? We get this decree, we start it in motion. Then there's ways, steps. He orders our steps in his word. There's always steps. There's always ways. God's ways, then there's man's ways, and then there's devil's way. So he shines light. If somebody's having a situation in their business, or if somebody's having, people ask me a bunch of times, they say, I don't know what I'm doing wrong with my finances. We used to have this much income and da-da-da-da, or I'm just like, I need to get this paid off for that. But there are ways to do it. God always shows us a way. There is always a way. When he released them from bondage, the Israelites from bondage, they had several opportunities or ways to get from Egypt to the Jordan. One way might have taken them a couple of weeks. And then there was a way that they chose 40 years and they didn't even show up there. So we got to find out, okay, it says that light will shine upon your ways. What is the way? You're talking about a decree now. You're talking about something serious. It could be about your business. It could be about your church. I don't know. It could be about this nation. It could be about your involvement in this nation. It could be, I don't know, whatever it's about. There's a way that it needs to be handled. There's a way that God will shine his light so you can see. It's like getting up in the middle of the night and everything is dark, but you have a flashlight so you can actually see the way. And so God is like shining his light on your way so you see how, oh, this is the way. And it's going to take this many years, or it's going to take this many days, or it's going to happen instantly. And so I don't always want to talk about it taking time, but you know what? Life just takes time. So we really need to understand. I mean, a baby's born and, they don't get out of college until they're in their 20s. That's just life. That's how it is. Once in a while we hear about somebody graduating from college at 14, but that's not the normal. So we just know it's going to take time, and God works with time. He works with us. He helps us. And anything he can do to show us how to shorten time, he's going to show us how to, like we can have greenhouses. And so we can have tomatoes in December if we have a greenhouse that's nice and warm. But you understand, God is going to show us. It's going to take ways. So another thing is when you start making decrees, you're going to be amazed how it will affect you and the way that you live. And this is silly. This has nothing, and nobody get any condemnation. I don't want to hear no condemnation from y'all. I want to hear it straight up. 1971, God spoke to me early in the morning. He said, I want you to study Genesis 1. I said, okay. So I started studying. So he told me count how many times. This is me by myself. Okay, we were living in a bad situation. Yucky, yucky. We were freezing. It was awful. It was awful where we lived. Anyway, he said, I want you to count how many times, and God said. So I did. I took my little notebook and I did all that stuff. So I went over to get my cup of coffee. I was addicted to coffee. Man, I could knock out 18 cups in a day. I'm talking about I could knock the coffee out. I lived off of coffee. And so I never even thought anything about it. So anyway, I'm studying this. And so God said, I don't want you to drink coffee from now. And I was like, what? How is that ever going to happen? I said, I don't, and this is 1971, so I have no clue. Nobody's teaching me about confession or nothing. And so he said, well, I want you to use this scripture, Genesis 1, and God said, and I want you to start saying, I hate coffee. And I know y'all are thinking, this woman is so goofy. Listen, I'm 80. I've been doing this. This actually worked, okay? So from 71 to now, don't tell me how it doesn't work, because it's actually worked in my life. So I said, oh, well, okay. Then he said, you can have 1 cup a day. And I said, 1 cup a day. And so I warmed that 1 cup up all day long. I made it last all day. But anyway, every time I take a sip, I would say, I hate the taste of coffee. And I go, boy, does that ever taste so good. Oh, I love the smell of coffee. Anyway, so time went on. And I just got to tell you about Sherry, my daughter. She was real little. And she would say, Mommy, you're going to go to hell. You're lying because you love coffee. Anyway, I had to get her settled. I wasn't going to go to hell. It was going to be okay. God was teaching me something. Well, anyway, that was the last cup of coffee I've had in all these years, and I don't even like the smell of it now. But he was teaching me a principle. And what he was teaching me was to change my ways in this decree. I was starting to learn about decrees, and I was making decrees. And so my way of dealing with being tired and having enough energy to put in 18-hour days was to live off coffee. So he said, I'm going to teach you how to get a different way of living. You can have energy through other ways that you don't have to get it through coffee. So my ways, just like in this, he started opening up, and I was like, how could anybody live without a pot of coffee a day? How could you do that? How could you stay awake? How could you go? And so he began to, that's a simple thing. And nobody write me bad letters about coffee. I don't care if you drink coffee all day long. Whatever you want to do is fine with you. I'm just telling you something he taught me about decrees. I started learning about decrees in 71. I didn't know how they worked, and I didn't know the power behind them. But I can tell you that one worked. I'm 80, and I haven't ever had a cup of coffee since then. Since 1971, I don't like them. I don't like the smell of it. I don't need it. I take gobs of vitamins, a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, so I learned other things that help. And so God will change your ways. And the reason I'm teaching you this is, what if you're having financial situations, and say you've been married for 30 years and you keep having repeatedly the same financial situations? You still run up against the same wall. Have you ever hit a wall with finances? Or maybe you hit a wall with healing that you need in your physical body. Then when you start making these decrees, then God will say, hey, I'm going to help you learn how to fine-tune some things and change some things in your ways so that